We're live.
We're live. Okay, so I should have asked you this before we went live. Do I
Are you
need to
talking to
turn
me
off?
right now,
I'm talking
or are
to
you
you.
talking to the
Shh,
people?
shh, shh.
Okay.
There's a child in here
Sorry.
asleep.
Our child. I'll put a cover over her like you do it with a bird in a cage.
Says she won't be loud. No, it says she won't see the light.
'Cause the light's
No,
on.
do I need to turn the Wi-Fi off? I mean, yeah. Should. Will the connection...
Ask the people at home if the connection looks good. If the video
Well,
is
it'll
choppy.
it'll stop. It'll say connection, whatever. Okay, I'm tired. As you can see here, it's been a long day. But we wanted to do a Facebook Live. We're trying to do more from our page, and then we're going to share it to my personal page, because we want to generate more traffic here on the page, the Lainey Wooten page. That sounded really weird. The Lainey Wooten page. There's no other way to say it. We switched over to a page because we can reach more people, and we just have a passion to encourage parents, specifically parents that have special needs kids, but ultimately all people everywhere. We want to reach people with, the message of Christ. So,
Right.
But we thought it'd be cool to talk just a little bit about the challenges, the stressors that are put on marriages in raising special needs kids, and also just open it up to any questions that you may have. So, if you have any questions.
And it doesn't have to be about special needs kids. I mean, we have
Yeah, I was going to say
we
that
have
too.
we have lots of other neurotypical kids,
We have lots.
and they all seem like they have their own little crazy ways. So.
Yeah, it's true. And I was going to say too, just in general, large family life can be pressing. It's large family is kind of like its special needs category.
Sorry.
See.
It's 10 o'clock, y'all. Wait, what time is it? It's 10:04. It's
Okay.
late,
I would say one of the struggles for us, specifically with the needs that we have with Jude specifically. So we have 2 special needs children, one with Down syndrome and one with autism, is we have to be separated a lot.
Right, because Jude is always on the move, and Jude doesn't want to stick around and just, I mean, if Jude has an idea of something that he wants to go do, or if he sees something interesting and he wants to go see it or do something with it, he's going to run, or he's going towards it. So
Yeah. So we have to divide and conquer with having lots of kids, and then also just the nature of Jude's needs. Like John always has to be on him, or I have to be on him. And for most of the situations, it's John. And so I would say that's a challenge in our marriage, is having to be just separated. Because we would love to just do things together as a family and just be like, hey, we're all going to the park, or we're all going to the splash pad, or to Air U, or whatever. We're gonna all have a good time. But it ends up being me with 5 kids by myself, and John chasing Jude around wherever he needs to go. So that would be a challenge.
it will be.
Go ahead.
Yep. Or I was just going to give another example of whenever we had Mabel's follow-up appointment in Dallas. Jude wasn't just going to sit in that doctor's office,
Right.
or even in the lobby. In the little foyer waiting room of the doctor's office. So Jude and I were off. We were walking all around. So and so.
Okay, so I think another struggle for us is we cannot do little getaways together, because I hear it's good for your marriage to get away and do weekends away and overnight, even if it's something short, an overnight trip. And that is not something
Sorry.
that
I'm usually not yawning at this time of night, really. I'm usually not. Sorry.
we're so tired. We cannot get away. We just really can't. Not at this stage.
Right. And we have awesome family support, really. And but yeah, I mean, we just couldn't do that. I mean, we just can't. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Elizabeth, for saying that. I'm so glad that this is encouraging to you.
Like I don't want people to not think that we don't have any support. Or people
Absolutely,
to.
we do
I don't
have
want people to
support.
think we don't have support, because we certainly do with our families. They're amazing and they help us out a lot.
Yes,
But-
they do.
Yeah, but our situation is just a little extra.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot extra.
But I mean, right now we're
Challenging.
just talking about the challenges, things that maybe people can identify with that
Right.
have kids like we do,
Gotcha.
and then maybe we can come back and say what we can do and what we do to to curb those challenges and to
Right.
strengthen our marriage.
My go-to right now is yawning. I cannot stop
I know.
yawning. I really can't.
And once you start, you can't stop.
It's crazy.
I would say just the ongoing stressful nature of our situation with like always being on and always being needed. It's a challenge to find time to be together, like just alone. And we have to be very intentional about that. Because it's like, the second the kids are down, it's like we both kind of just want to do our own thing. Like we want to just relax, and it takes discipline to come together and be together, and connect. And, that's extremely important.
Yeah, and another level of that that people may not think about who have neurotypical kids is if you have any business to take care of, any checks to write to pay a bill, or any form to fill out, anything like that, to do. It's got to be after the kids are in bed. I mean, we can't just say,
Yeah.
"Hey Jude, sit right there and do something while Daddy
yeah.
goes and logs into my account online for this thing
Right,
and fills out
yeah.
a form." So all that's got to be, so that again eats into our,
Yes.
our personal
So
time.
like even if the kids are asleep, okay, now we can be together. No, actually now we have to try to get some things done that are very important, and
Yeah.
a lot of times we do put things off, but there are certain things that we have to figure out how to do. I would say the overall stress factor of just the always being on.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Now you're gonna make me yawn.
I know, I don't know how you
But
haven't yet.
the always being on, and it really kind of on, it can put you on edge a lot, and I think that we can tend to take it out on each other. At least I do sometimes. If
At
I
times,
feel just the stress of all of it, I look to the closest person to blame, and you're there. And
Yeah. I can't think of a time. I mean, yeah.
I do that, but we work through it, and we apologize and all that stuff. But we know that marriage has to be fought for in our society, and it has to be defended, and you can't coast. You have to you have to aggressively defend your marriage, and then you throw in the whole special needs factor of children that are, or even just small children, any children that are dependent on you, and then you take it to the next level with children with disabilities. You've got a lot of things stacked up against you, against your marriage. And so what have we done to kind of help with those situations? Because a lot of marriages I have heard with kids with specifically autism have ended in divorce. And I think here's my theory on that. So autism, we're very early on in the Down syndrome journey. So far it's been all just smiles for us, other than the medical stuff.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But
Surgeries, you being
yeah,
away
so
at the
yeah,
hospital.
that's a whole nother Facebook Live. But autism, it's hard. It's hard on our son. Our son was miserable for about half the day today because he just doesn't process his emotions well. He doesn't process the outside world well, his disappointments. He cannot, has a processing disorder of his senses, his emotions, all of it. So that creates a lot of stress in the home. You can respond to that in a couple of ways. You can run away from it, or you can face it head on. And my theory with some marriages, many marriages ending up in divorce, is that someone in the marriage just can't deal with it, and so they bury their head in the sand, or they run, or they try to medicate the pain and the struggle and the stress with whatever, if that means like being gone, working too much, alcohol, and so one checks out. And I would think, for like, what I'm super grateful for is that I don't have that with my husband. My husband is very involved, like unbelievably, just amazingly involved in our children's lives, and I couldn't do it without him. But I think that's
without you either.
That's the key factor for us, is that we are in this together, and we're both laboring like an equal amount. We are laboring, toiling together, and even though it comes with its challenges and that we have to be separated a lot, like, we're both in this, and because of that, and because we're laboring together, I feel like that there's an intimacy and a closeness and a bond that we get blessed with.
Yeah.
So it's like it could go two ways. It can be like, it could actually strengthen your marriage, which I feel like for us it has. Or it can drive a wedge very quickly. And so, are there any things that you want to say?
Yeah, so I mean, I think that you're absolutely right. I think that talking about it is a big part of it. I mean, we experienced this tonight to some degree. I mean, Lainey took the brunt. Most of Jude's issues today or this morning. Just to give me a break. She told me later. I didn't realize that she was intentionally trying to do that, which was very sweet. But
because 95% of the time, John takes care of Jude.
I don't know. That seems high, but anyway.
Most of the time.
But so anyway, there is some processing. There's some processing that needs to be done afterwards. I mean, really, for you to, I guess,
to cope with it.
Yeah. So Lainey was struggling earlier with trying to just let it go or talking about it, and by let it go, I mean just try to just move on. And just try to go. Okay, I'm living in this moment. That was earlier. That's over. But when your son is acting erratically or whatever, and it just goes on and it's irrational, and all that, it's just not normal, and it's hard to cope. So talking about it, I mean, she made herself talk about it, and it helps a lot.
And we called in my parents to come and watch the kids. We'll ask for a date night, maybe like a couple times a month. I think it's what it kind of turns out. And my parents are so amazing to just, yes, absolutely, y'all go. So we had a conversation over a meal by ourselves. Well, we took Mabel with us, but she was really quiet and sweet. Yeah. And let us talk.
Yeah. Yeah, so that was huge. Yeah, her parents are awesome about that. They just live right next door. So, but yeah, so she made herself talk about it, and that was very helpful, I believe, to her, wasn't it?
Oh yeah, most definitely. Yeah.
But I mean, so I'm the kind of guy who I just internalize things, and it's hard for me to come out with all these feelings and thoughts, especially if I'm still in that moment, of feeling it. But I would just rather move on. But sometimes you have to talk. You've got to talk through things, And the spouse, you've got to be able to listen while the other spouse is talking. You got to be able to process these things out loud. So I think that's a huge part of it. I think that another huge part of it is you're talking about us being in this. You and I both have compassion for our son. and realize that he is affected by this too. That this is not just
it's just not about the inconvenience.
He's
for
not
us.
just like being mean to us or trying to inconvenience us, but he is highly affected, and his life is highly affected. His quality of life by this, and so we have not just created this view of him as he's just this annoyance or this source of I don't know, source of trouble for us, but we love him, right? And so I mean, as you love your kids, but I mean, a lot of parents, I think, with kids with autism, it's hard to have that connection with their kids. It's hard to have that love. It's hard to feel love for your kids, because I mean, a lot of those kids, they don't want to be hugged. They don't want to be touched.
They don't reciprocate it the way that you want it.
They don't reciprocate those feelings. Right, exactly. And so it's just easy to get cold towards them, and then especially if they're you or trying to kick you or hit you or whatever because they're mad, and then a lot of those kids don't sleep too well at night. Like a lot of kids with autism just do not sleep much at night at all. So a parent has to be up while they're up, and so those things will make you bitter, and so the addition of all those things together,
that's another thing I was going to say that can
really bitter.
Can be a challenge in a marriage is like a lot of times, like, I'm going to bed before John because John's waiting for Jude to go to sleep, because we don't go to sleep. Well, John doesn't go to sleep until Jude is asleep, and so it can be hard to find time to be alone together in your marriage.
Sometimes there's no issue, but there may be a random, just rare night that Jude will stay up until midnight or 1, but it's usually because he's got something on his mind and he just cannot stop thinking about it. He can't turn his mind off. A lot of people can relate to that. I think that a lot of people have a hard time sleeping because of that, right? So Jude's like that. Now we're super blessed because most of the time Jude sleeps very well, and he sleeps all night.
It could be a lot worse.
That's a huge deal. A lot of kids with autism don't. And I mean, we've heard stories of kids who don't sleep or whatever. I don't understand how that happens.
That's crazy.
So
Okay, so some things that we have done to help protect our marriage, because we have expressed that there's the challenges there, and is we pray together. I know that once we pray together, like, it just changes everything for me, and I know we don't pray together near as much as we should, but when we do, like when things get really, really hard for us, specifically with Jude, if we can pray together, it's like it brings us back together, and just sets our hope at the same place too. It's like, because sometimes maybe one of us is more positive than the other, or it's like it just kind of puts us on the same page, and sets the course.
And I feel like that the Lord gives us comfort. I mean, I feel like that.
Absolutely.
I mean, when you're in prayer, that the Lord, he comforts you. I mean, that seems, it seems to be a very comforting thing. I mean, in the moment when you're praying together. So
yeah. And I think another thing that we do is we get away. So like just a couple of times a month, it can't be as frequent for us because it's such it's a big deal whenever we leave, and it may just be for a couple hours, but that lasts a long time for me. What about for you? Yeah, definitely. And just having that uninterrupted time to visit. And tonight I purposely left my phone back home. You did? I did, yeah. Because I just knew that I needed to talk. I needed to make sure that nothing distracted me from talking. And I had to really force myself to talk tonight because I just really wanted to move on from our difficult day and just be lighthearted. But I knew that it was just going to just be stuck there in my mind until I got it out and talked about it. And it was just really good. But I think you know, talking is huge, and finding time to do that. And
yeah, I mean, you definitely don't always feel like
no,
talking. I don't, especially whenever things are rough. So, but it's very important, you know.
and I would say too, you know, be careful with what you're going to medicate the pain, you know, because I mean, it can you can miss out on the opportunity to let your spouse help you through the difficulty of raising a special needs child, or raising children in general, and just the stresses that are there. Like, be careful to not just go straight to your phone as soon as the kids are in bed to just like ease the pain or make you forget. Like, go, like, draw near to each other and draw near to God, because that's really what's going to just really solidify the relationship and keep it strong. When you're leaning into each other versus leaning into alcohol or to your phone or to the TV or whatever, just to kind of like numb the pain, like go, like push yourselves back together. And, you know, sometimes it's going to be like, for me and John, like, for a while, he would just sit at Jude's door and wait for him to fall asleep. And so sometimes I knew I just needed to go sit beside him at the door, as inconvenient as it was, and I was tired to sit on the hardwood floor. I just needed to go sit by him and be with him before I went to bed, instead of just checking out.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to say?
Anything else I want to say? I don't know. Not really.
Yeah. You just do the best.
I think it's important. You
yeah.
know, I think what you're talking about is very important. And I think it's maybe good for people out there to see that that there are people that, you know, have struggles. Sorry.
Yeah.
And that we're in the trenches of it. You know, there are people that are in the trenches, you know, like you are.
Yeah. You're not alone.
No, I mean, we, you know, things like we said, things could be a lot worse for us. All the kids are asleep right now. You know, that's pretty awesome. But yeah, it's very, very good to lean on each other. You definitely will strengthen your marriage. Jude has forced us to be together as a family a lot more. You know, we can't really we don't really have activities or hobbies that we
that are separate.
that we go do. I mean, we're pretty much at home, you know. But that's turned out to be a very good thing, and that was hard
there
for
are
me.
hidden blessings for sure.
That was not easy for me. You know, there's a lot of things that, you know, that I can't do. Right, a lot of things that you can't do.
Yeah.
Not easy.
It's not easy, but that's okay.
Yeah. God's in it. So.
All right. Thanks for watching. We'll be doing more lives from our page. And so if you haven't liked the page, or if you haven't followed the page, be sure to do that. So go and not just like, but follow it, and you'll be updated whenever we go live. And then also share this on your page, because somebody you may know who's in the same boat that we are could be encouraged. And so yeah, thanks for your support, and have a good night.